In your mind, what would an appropriate consequence be for somebody who walks into my business and steals $200 worth of my stuff?
I mean, there is a case of a young gangbanger shot another gangbanger in the face, point blank, killed him.
Are these all Soros-funded attorneys?
Yes. Criminals, when caught, they talk about being protected by anti-Pam.
Did this start with the defund the police movement?
It goes way back, it goes earlier, really to the 1990s. I actually worked on these issues when I was on the left in the 90s. We thought it was sort of cruel. It sort of seems cruel to be sending people to jail or prison for petty crimes, you know, stealing $100, a couple $100 of stuff out of the drugstore. There's all this stuff around, certainly the concerns around race and racism, which are very real concerns in the past. But then you get this overreaction. And so we decriminalized theft under $950.
Can I back up for a minute? And I just want to ask you, what do you think in your mind, what would an appropriate consequence be for somebody who walks into my business and steals $200 worth of my stuff?
Well, I mean, to some extent, it depends on what's going on with that person. I mean, it's why we have laws, and then you have judges that can give out different sentences. Is that the first crime for that person? Is that person mentally ill? Is that person an addict? Is that person just a thug? You know, I tell a story. I have two characters in my book, real life characters, one white, one black. The black character, Jabari, had a whole life of crime, stealing things, you know, walking out of stores, stealing cars, had an addiction. And because he was black and we're so liberal, like every time he would get arrested and there'd be some consequences, the serious penalties would be waived. So he was sort of treated more leniently. Uh-huh. The white character was a family guy, got addicted to opioids, addicted to heroin, and was on the streets, homeless, smoking fentanyl. He gets arrested basically for holding the drugs for dealers. And he had much more severe consequences. Well, turned out the better to have the severe consequences, because then he had the choice between prison and rehab, and he chose rehab. My black character, because they were treating him like a victim because of his race, actually got worse off because he never had any consequences, any serious consequences for his behavior. I love the story because it actually, you contrast this thing of you think you're helping somebody because you're pitying them and you're feeling sorry for them and you're making them worse off because you're never forcing them to deal with the addiction. Jabari was never forced to deal with the addiction. You know, what finally did it, he was so sick with addiction, he actually ended up breaking a law in a way where kind of unconsciously he was looking for consequences, and that was how he eventually got the rehab that he needed. So I think that the specifics of any single person don't matter so much, but this attitude that people are committing crimes because they're victims, it's the wrong attitude. You got to have proper consequences for behavior. Now, if there's addiction and mental illness, then we should try to treat those things too. But even in those cases, many, many addicts, as you know, aren't going to deal with their addiction unless they know that the alternative is going to prison. Mm-hmm. If the choice is going into rehab or staying on the street and smoking meth and fentanyl, almost all of them are going to stay on the street smoking meth and fentanyl. Mm-hmm. That's why really nobody gets into rehab in San Francisco. It's they offer it, but there's no intervention that would require people to go. So to some extent, this intervention, that's what happens when you arrest somebody for breaking the law. Every time you break the law, there should be some intervention because something obviously went wrong for you to break the law.
What about the retribution for the shop owner or the business owner or the? I mean, from what I understand, you can't even call the police now if you've been robbed and you weren't home.
Well, why bother? Oakland. So they did recall the DA in San Francisco, thank God, and we have a different district attorney. There's now an effort to recall the district attorney from Oakland because she is so radical. I mean, there is a case of a young gangbanger shot another gangbanger in the face, point blank, killed him. He was out of jail within a year. Mm-hmm. They just didn't file the charges to prosecute him. They've lost all of the experienced district attorneys in Oakland, so they cannot properly try a murder case in Oakland.
Are these all Soros-funded attorneys?
Yes. The district attorney of Oakland is an idiot. I mean, ideological and incompetent. I mean, she was incompetent before she ran for district attorney. The mayor is incompetent. I'm not saying that like in some rhetorical way. I mean, genuinely not bright, like genuinely not able to actually do the jobs. They're chosen for it because they've learned to recite these magical phrases around restorative justice, which is just code for not prosecuting people for absolutely heinous crimes. I mean, the situation in Oakland is so bad, it'll sound like I'm exaggerating, but this is actually what's happening is people are, allowed to commit crimes. We know that criminals, when caught, they talk about being protected by Auntie Pam. Pamela Price is the name of the district, and they call her Auntie Pam.
Are you kidding me?
That's how the criminals feel like they control Oakland. I mean, it sounds like an exaggeration to your viewers, so they're not going to believe it. Just go read up on Oakland crime. It's absolutely out of control. The only good that's coming out of it is that political moderates are starting to organize, and we're working to raise the money to get the signatures to remove her from office. Because she's for some quirk of the system, she has a 6-year term, not just a 4-year term, but they changed the system to align with the presidential elections. 6-year term. So she has to be recalled. It is not safe in the East Bay of California. It's really not safe in San Francisco. It's not safe in Los Angeles. The police have warned not to go out with jewelry in Los Angeles. The crimes have reached places like Hollywood. So it's gotten, the problem has moved outside of the normally high crime neighborhoods so much that even upper middle class folks are now so affected by it that they're starting to get organized.
What other kinds of crimes are you seeing? I mean, from what I understand, they let a lot of people out of prison over there. A
lot of people got out of prison.
They have
huge reductions of prison population.
They have defunded the police. They have demoralized the entire law enforcement community.
Yep.
Actually, that's nationwide.
Yes.
Almost. Maybe not Florida, but I mean, cops all over the country they're demoralized. I mean, and you don't.
Understandably so.
I feel like there's a deeper agenda. I don't know what it is. Honestly, I think the defund the police movement was they wanted to completely gut the old mindset and demoralize them, force them out with the forced vaccines, with the just demoralizing them, prosecuting them for doing their jobs, not allowing them to do their jobs, and you can see the recruiting videos both in law enforcement and in the military. They've gone woke. Nobody joins the military law enforcement for a woke agenda.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.